no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me here. Like I said, I've always feel a positive vibe coming from Carrie. I've always loved Project Camelot, and I really wanted my first interview to be with Carrie Cassidy here.
Okay, well, that's awesome to hear, and obviously we love hearing that. So, all right, well, I'm here with Khartika Goe, and I don't know how you say the last name. Do you want to say it for me?
Oh, we're just going by Go.
Okay,
Really.
okay, great. I have a brief bio here for you, so what I'll do is I'll read the bio, and then I'll let you augment that with your own words, okay?
Absolutely.
We've got Khartika Goe, and she's the author of an eclectic new book called MULTIDIMENSIONal TRAVELER, Finding Togetherness. And she's just released that. In fact, I just managed to get a URL of where to buy it. So that's here at the bottom of the page on the front page of Project Camelot. So for those listening, if you find yourself interested and want to see more, then you can go to the front page and see her, her bio and her link there. To the book. So she has completed undergraduate degree at the University of California, Los Angeles in 2011. She pursued graduate studies at Columbia University in the city of New York before embarking on her research of the metaphysical dimensions. Ms. Goe has traveled extensively throughout the world and has been successful in capturing other dimensional beings. Does it really say capturing? Capturing other dimensional beings and planes of existence on film. Many prominent esoteric authors and researchers have used her accounts and photos of their own research in the multidimensional realms. So we're going to try to get explanation on some of that. After 5 years of assisting various metaphysical researchers, she finally came public with her own accounts in her groundbreaking article, Adventures in Alternate Realities, which was published in 16 languages and sold over 30 countries by Nexus Magazine, April-May of 2013. Ms. Goe is one of the youngest authors to be featured in Nexus Magazine, and her publication has generated over 200 emails from interested readers, leading her to hold short courses. Following her article, she has also been contacted by documentary filmmakers hoping to use her accounts for future projects. And whoops, okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, and let's see, she has evolved from rigorous academic background into ardently writing and lecturing on the unknown and the mysteries of the universe. Her current work focuses on assisting children with physical and developmental disorders in the development of their energetic abilities. Okay, last sentence was a mouthful. And anyway, that's a really short bio for Khartika, and we're going to go into some more detail here. Very, very interesting background that she has. I'm very excited to be talking with her this evening. So Khartika, if you could talk a little bit more about your background, explain some of those sentences that you wrote there, because they're quite a bit esoteric in approach. So it would be great to hear what you have to say.
Well, you know, in the very beginning, before I actually got interested into spirituality, so to speak, I was basically just a normal college student with, you know, trying to achieve good grades whatsoever. And everything changed the moment one day, just one night, everything just changed when I went to London and I was visited by 3 light beings. They were tall light beings, not the short ones we're talking about, tall light beings. And they spoke to me and we interacted. I could only remember some of it, which I actually wrote in the introduction of the book itself. And ever since then, my life has changed completely. It's rather striking, Carrie. I at first it wasn't very pleasant, so as to speak, because I didn't know what was vibrational frequency. So I would be sleeping and I'd be getting out of my physical body and I'd be interacting with these so-called unpleasant beings, so as to speak. And it was rather horrendous, and I was rather scared because I didn't know what was going on. Even sometimes, at times, my when my energetic body was detaching from my physical body, I would feel a sensation, kind of like my bed moving, like as though there was an earthquake. And I'd call, my neighbors whatsoever. Did you guys felt an earthquake? There was no earthquake. What are you talking about? Like, I was crazy time and time again. And it seems that it is indeed the whirlwind of truth, just like many people journey at this present time, just like your journey and many people's journey, that we're here for a purpose, that we're here to spread the truth out on the true essence of humanity, or really of this universe itself, which is actually that of the energetic. And now, in terms of, I'd like to highlight this first because for my bio, because this is the most important thing for me in terms of children with developmental disorders, autistic to, children with inattentive ADHD, from the so-called low-functioning ones to high-functioning autism, which I really do not like that terminology at all. So what I'm trying to do is that through various reports from my friends who are doctors, nurses, whatsoever, and to interacting with them, myself, I found out that these children actually have a lot of what I term as energetic abilities, that they're very much more in tune to their energetic body than their physical body itself. That these are remarkable children, and so many of these children are being, conditioned to live their life in these physicalities, human physicalities, being forced to be like everybody else when they in fact have so much to share with us. It's just that they can't have the language comprehension to actually share it with us.
Okay, well, thank you, and that's fascinating. That you're already using your gifts to help others, and so not only have you had your own experiences, but you're at I think a fairly young age, moving to help others that are even younger, and that's a beautiful thing and nice to hear. What I want to find out is more about your initial encounters, because you say it was uncomfortable. You say they were unpleasant. Can you be more explicit as to why you thought they were unpleasant, and how did things develop from there?
Yes, but Carrie, one thing, it's not my gift. I think it's everybody's gift. Everybody has this gift, this power within them. They just need, it's just like a pencil that needs to be sharpened, so to speak. But in terms of my first experiences was with what I called lower dimensional beings, or you would know them as lower dimensional entities. Okay. What is termed or what is known presently by most people as hybrids, the half animal, half human, sort of grotesque looking. I actually have pictures of them. And my first experiences was with them. And I would firstly experience mostly sort of like them verbally saying things to me, such as, when I encountered an energetic, like, you've stolen knowledge. And then afterwards, the second one is like with these dark shadow beings. I know that people have reported about this as well. They normally, when you are sleeping, they normally would lay on your chest. And what they're actually doing is that they're taking the vibrational frequency off you so that they're able to exist in the human fourth dimensional realm. So my experiences were mostly with them first. And it was a strange ride of, experiences, because after that I saw them gradually, or rather I noticed them gradually gaining even more manipulative abilities, such as having electromagnetic abilities to inflict attack on others.
Okay, well, when you say that in your presence, inflict attacks on others, is that what you're talking about?
Pardon me?
Were you present when you said inflicting attacks on others? Were you present when this was happening?
Oh, because it's how I know this is because it's me. And when I wrote my Nexus article, I had a lot of people contacting me, telling me this is actually what is happening to me too, like what exactly is going on. And they give me so many, a lot of details. And many of my friends as well, they're experiencing the same thing. People who are healthily seeking out the truth, the light, the positivity within this universe are finding themselves at a crossroad where they're just being constantly attacked by forces in various forms.
Okay. So did your encounters with these beings continue for a long time? And did you make a transition to more positive beings later?
Absolutely. It absolutely. I highlighted it, especially in my last two chapters of the book itself. That's how it is. It was at first scary, and then afterwards, after I gained to find the light and the positivity within my heart and within my mind, I aligned it in that way that I constantly maintain a positive thought, constantly maintain the love and light within me, and that was when I start to be able to raise my overall vibrational frequency to actually travel to various different planets and existences, which are of positive nature, and that's how it is. I continuously stumble upon new knowledge, new positive beings.
Okay.
And
did you find any of the beings, you spoke initially, you said of some very tall light beings. Do you want to explain what your relationship was with them?
Well, I think they're obviously very, very high beings, and I think that they're connected to all humans who are of positive nature, who are vibrating. I think it's not only me. It's not. Please don't think that I'm a special person who's able to do this.
Actually, no. I mean, I can say that I've had interaction with light beings as well. So I don't find this unusual in any way. But I think that there are many people that are listening who are interacting with beings of all kinds. So, but I'm interested in your particular story and what you have to say about your own interactions with these beings and how they might have shaped, your desire to write a book, for example.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I actually encountered these beings in the very first, the very first, before I actually experienced all other sort of experiences. And, they spoke to me, of course, telepathically, but now that I know, it's much more that we're very much interconnected with them. And they told me that, they sort of just told me that this world is not what you think it is. Like this is not the physicalities that really matters, but really the energetics that matters. And this is what it really is, and what you have to do, and what you're going to experience. It's not going to be, positive at first. You're going to meet various beings, but you have to maintain the positivity within you, because you have to remember that we're always within you. Do not be afraid. And I knew right away that it was definitely not a dream, just like possibly you did, Carrie, because how do we know? Because it's that sensation, that feeling within us, that positive feeling. That's how you know that you're interacting with a being of positive nature, because you feel the love, you feel the positivity, and you were in a good state, positive state of mind. And this led me to always question what I was always taught in my universities, for example. And basically, rather than being one of those students who just get spoon-fed and, basically get good grades, I question everything. I even debated with many of my professors, and they dread having me there in their classes because of that.
Okay. Can you tell us more about your educational background? Like, where did you go to school? And I don't know, how old are you? Out of college now, and that sort of thing.
Right. Well, presently, I'm actually finishing up my final year of PhD, and I am actually doing a postdoctorate as well. Luckily enough, recently there's a recent funding, or rather a recent interest in a certain region in Europe to actually fund my research, my cognitive psychology research, in the aspects of disabilities within children with autism. I cannot mention more because I'm actually preparing for my, because it's a science, it's all about validity, reliability. I need to have the complete evidence before I go out there and give it to the public.
I see. Okay. And where are you studying? Where are you studying right now? What school or?
Well, I actually am transferring to this particular university, in European university, because they're much more open-minded than the current ones. Unfortunately, my previous university actually found my article that I wrote for Nexus, and I actually received many people, unhappy people rather, saying that how could you be in a cognitive psychology field and wrote such a thing? So,
Oh, that's interesting. So so you're leaving one school to go to another. Aren't you here in the Southern California area at the time, or were you?
yeah, yes, I'm currently doing a lot of research in the cognitive psychology field with a particular university in Southern California.
Okay. All right. And so you're about to move to Europe to do some more research, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. And are you Europe is very general. Do you want to say where in Europe, or do you want to keep that private? It's up to you.
I'll keep it private for now.
Okay, that's fine.
Scientific research.
Okay, very good. But I understand that you've also sort of assisted some other researchers along the way, and possibly even people that other people might know. Do you want to mention any of these people that perhaps have been your mentors along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the greatest person actually that I've known in this field is Dr. Harry Oldfield.
Okay.
Very, very kind person, and his partner Abby. We've been in contact, and we've been in a lot of exchanging of knowledge. They're absolutely, absolutely amazing. And another doctor by the name of Dr. I'm just going to mention his last name because he's actually in a mainstream psychology field, and he's doing this in a hush-hush manner. His last name is Lipton.
All right.
It's more to do with cognitive social aspect of psychology. It's just that when I'm in this mainstream area, rather than with of course, many of you probably know Dr. Harry Oldfield, but when I'm dealing with the mainstream science, I have to masquerade all of my research because I can't give these people all at once. It has to be baby step here and there, and then put the pieces together.
Okay, well, how is your book going to be known to these people in the sort of more formal areas of academia that you're working in? Will you be, are they going to be aware that you've written a book? Are they, or is this something you're doing under, another name or?
You mean the second book, the scientific book, or this one?
No, the current book that you have.
The current book.
It was just released. Am I not? Is that not correct?
Yes,
it was just released.
Yes, absolutely, Gary. Well, I'm just letting fate decide if they're going to find out now. So be it.
Okay. Oh, all right. So that's very interesting. So when you say cognitive research, do you want to elaborate on that phrase? In other words, you're talking about things that go beyond the normal six senses. Is this what you're specializing in? And so you kind of classify it in a general terminology under the word cognitive, or do you want to elaborate on that?
Yes, or rather in the field of neuropsychology.
Okay.
But I have to, every single research, every single proposal that I give to my supervisors, I have to tell them that it's, we're doing this, and then, we're still doing that, but I'm taking baby steps with them for them to understand what you and I know about, Carrie, because they're not open to this thing. You know how the mainstream sciences are very, very difficult to deal with.
Okay. All right. Well, it's very brave of you under the circumstances to go on my show because you may become somewhat notorious, whether you like it or not. They may find out about this. Isn't that right?
Well, whatever will be, will be. The time is indeed now,
Okay. Okay, very good. Just out of curiosity, you did send me a short preamble for your book, which I did look at, and it was very, very lovely. Now, was this your own writing, and it was almost a poem?
Yes, it was indeed. It was indeed. I actually wanted the assistance of the higher beings to actually assist me, but they said, no, you're going to have to write it from your heart. This has to come from your heart, especially. And I did it.
Yeah, okay, well, lovely work. So is that included in your book?
Yes, indeed it is.
Okay.
It is. It's the prologue.
All right, lovely. So people listening will be able to go to your book and see what I'm talking about here. All right, so in terms of your own travel, because it appears that you have recognized yourself as a sort of a time traveler, as I talk about that with people, and I'm curious how you journey through the ether, if you have a technique, and if you follow certain procedures, etc.
Well, yes, I do. Even until today, I still, living in this physical world, so as to speak, you have to constantly constantly meditate so much and calm your mind. Even before I go to, my work or anything, I always have to, do my meditation techniques. Even when I am in my car driving, I do all these meditation techniques because it's all about maintaining your own vibrational frequency. It's all about maintaining positivity within you and not letting anyone whatsoever affect your peaceful state of being, your peaceful state of mind, and the love and light within your heart. I sometimes even do it in my car. What I was told, which surprisingly many individuals actually already know this technique, is that through the usage of the golden light, which is available with us, which is available, the knowledge that is available, many people have used this, but I have been specifically told that this golden light must not be viewed in a gravitational sort of understanding. You cannot see it as, from here to there. You have to see it as an energetic treatment, an energetic that re-energizes you. You have to start seeing yourself as an energetic being rather than physical. And in that sense, you always maintain this high vibrational state, which with even whoever you encounter with, because when you start seeing yourself as an energy, you start seeing yourself as this, like a water, really. If you can't let a pebble go in and distract the water and the waves start moving frantically around.
Okay.
So I do that technique a lot, and of course I have, even until today, I have to constantly remind myself, basically that you have to maintain a positive vibrational frequency, and various things that I keep telling myself. I have to keep telling myself, constantly reminding myself. It's just the human mind, the human brain is so fickle that you continuously have to train it, kind of like an animal, really.
Okay, well, are you working with others to learn these techniques? And have you traveled? You say you've traveled a lot. Did you travel to places like India or other countries that you might name?
Yes. I travel a lot, actually. I travel guided by intuitions, just last-minutely by intuitions. The last travel that I had was actually to Greece. Sorry, not the last, but one of the last but most memorable travel was to Greece. And I stumbled you probably have seen it in my website. I stumbled various interesting places, and fate brought me to the site of the Minoans, and I felt a strong connection to that. And interestingly, I knew that I was already exposed to the knowledge of the Minoans itself, but the thing with the togetherness, or with the with the higher beings, is that they don't just spoon feed you with knowledge. They are the ones that I encounter. They give you knowledge and they want you to discover it on your own. And then, it's kind of like a school.
Okay, so you traveled there. I'm assuming in physical body, in as we in conventional sense. But we're also talking about travel through other dimensions and etc. And do you want to talk about some of your experiences in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to, which planet do you want to know about? And
well, whatever you would like to tell people. Which planets have you gone to, for example? Why don't you start with that?
Well, I'll give an example of something that I still can't comprehend or can't understand myself, that I wrote within my book, and that was my travel to the moon. Most people will read this within the book itself. When I traveled to the moon, I don't know why, but I saw people basically stuck in their own, it's kind of like a trance state. They keep on doing things in a trance state, like they don't know that they're really in the moon. And then at the moment when it actually, something like a field was broken, they actually say, oh, you know what, many people are trapped here, their consciousness are trapped within the moon. And I still don't know, because that travel itself still puzzles me. But although I have learned through my travels, and I wrote this in a very chapter of my book itself, is that from the higher beings, that I know you know this, Gary, that the moon is very, very dark. It belongs to the dark beings. And and interestingly, an interesting tidbit that I wrote within my book is that I discovered that the dark beings of the moon exist in the energetic realms, the one that exists on the surface of the moon, while within the surface of the moon, they exist in the physical. Therefore, all those craters that you see and diggings that you see in the moon is not for gold whatsoever, I was told, but it was to transport these beings who exist in the energetic realm to the physical realm within the moon.
Okay, so did you see perhaps any underground places in the moon?
No, I was only on the surface.
Okay. So what about other planets? Did you go to Mars, for example?
Yes, I did. I wrote that in my third chapter of the book. Basically, Mars is overtaken by darkness and has been overtaken by darkness. And though there are still some very, very positive beings there in Mars who are still fighting to light the candle in Mars itself, to spread the light. And unfortunately, these beings have to live in secrecy, rather. They cannot, and one thing that I want to emphasize, something very interesting in regards to Mars, is that it's very interesting because they exist in various dimensions. So some beings actually exist in the energetics, some of them exist in the physical, many dimensions exist there in Mars itself.
Okay, yes. And what other places have you gone that you'd like to talk about in this solar system or outside even?
Well, let's see the most interesting one. Let's see. It's a place called Center's Moon.
Okay.
This is in my chapter 8, Harmony, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very interesting because every single experiences, every single travels, I'm always taught new things. So in Center Moon, most of our conversation, it's not about the place itself that interests me itself, but what really interests me is the knowledge that I gain from them. And in Center's Moon, we actually had a discussion about children with developmental disabilities and adults who are suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's, and why that is. And the energetics, basically the division of the energetics and the physical body. And it's very, very long, Carrie. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. Now, are you saying that this particular planet, it's a planet or a moon, are you saying?
Yes, it's called Center's Moon.
Okay, and this place has, in other words, you're talking about developmental disorders in terms of the people that live there or the beings that live there, or are you extrapolating to information you learned that you apply to Earth, or what do you mean by that?
Well, for many weeks already, or rather many months, this question of children with autism has been in my heart, really. And when I traveled there, it seems like they read my mind, and they said, "You've been questioning on children with developmental disorders. This is the truth about them, that they're more in tune with their energetics, and such can be proven even in the physical, that sometimes they talk by themselves when nobody else is around. That's because they're very much conditioned to the physical, when in fact they're actually existing within their energetics." And how adults with Alzheimer's, for example, are basically, they have, they appear that they don't have any, severe Alzheimer I'm talking about, they appear that they don't have any, it appears as though they don't have any control over their physical body, when in fact they have they're very much in control of their energetics. Now, if any of the listeners actually want to try this, if I know anybody with Alzheimer's or severe Alzheimer's, why don't you ask whoever it is, after, when they wake up in the morning, say, grandma or grandpa, where did you travel to? You don't really necessarily have to use the word travel. You can say, what did you dream about? The words that will come out of their mouth will absolutely surprise you. And it is very, very crucial, I was told, that you can never view these people as somebody that are lesser than you. Oh, degeneration, my grandma's going crazy, whatsoever. You can't do that, because unknown to you, your grandma is actually gaining energetic potentials and abilities to travel multidimensionally.
Okay. All right. Well, that's lovely to hear. Okay. And in terms of your travels, did you also encounter things that are going on? For example, when what I call the secret space program projects, or you know, let's say military that are flying between planets and this sort of thing. Did you encounter that in your travels?
Yes, yes. I had actually a few occasions where I was attempting to travel, and I find my vibrational frequency suddenly being like lowered, and I felt electromagnetic force within me. And where it took me was that it took me to like a mother ship. It was like a big mother ship, and it went in there, and I knew that it was a negative. Uh, Basically negative beings or militaries whatsoever that I attempted to wake up in my physical. And another, you actually brought up a very important point, Carrie, as well, is that why I'm actually writing this book as well is that because many of the readers of my Nexus article and myself has experienced electromagnetic attacks.
Sure.
They would even hear ping, cling, and then they find, themselves being attack electromagnetically. They feel the electric force within them and pain within their chest whatsoever. And I just want to take this moment to actually remind them that they have the power to vibrate in a very, very high frequency to prevent themselves from getting this. But the moment they hear the clang, clang, or feel themselves paralyzed, they could actually raise their vibrational frequency and actually kind of escape this, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they're doing that to you is because you are one of the few or one of the individuals who have already learned to break free out of your physical. Mm-hmm. And then they try to basically suppress, try to torture you, try to basically make you afraid, really, because this is what they're afraid of humans finally figuring out the truth, of humans finally learning to travel to the vastness of space, to see our own potentials. This is what they're afraid of. And we're here, each and every one of us, with our own unique role to play. And this unique role will be known once you sharpen your own abilities within yourself.
Okay. Let's see. When you were a child, how was your, did you have some like special abilities that became evident to your friends or family or, parents that, did they encourage you along these lines, or were they surprised by you in any way?
Well, it's quite the contrary, actually. My parents, they weren't, they're very conservative people. Mainstream, they're into mainstream science, very conservative people. So I was conditioned to live my life in a physical understanding, not to think of things beyond what meets the eyes, so to speak. So, but however, I have always been someone who have always attempt to see what meets beyond, what you see beyond the eyes itself. For example, you don't, I never followed the mainstream understanding of thought forms, or when people say this, I try to question it. But no special abilities, unless the only thing is that I was able to feel people's emotions very strongly since I was a kid.
Okay.
Even though they don't show it, I don't know them, I feel it right away.
And so you have an empathic side.
Perhaps.
Yes. What about, did you have brothers and sisters? Did you grow up with other children around you where you could share your sort of visions of the world?
Yes, I have sisters, actually.
Okay.
They're actually in more of a mainstream job occupation, so I am unable to share much with them. But however, I've found many, many great friends, many people whom fate have brought along, such as my co-author, Katie, actually.
Oh, all right.
I know some other friends of mine, and fate. It seems that when you actually dedicate your life to humanity itself, it seems that the universe seems to always bring forward the right people, the right person for you to become friends with, whatsoever. That seems to be always the way the universe works.
Okay. Now you say you have a co-author. Is she the co-author of this book, Multidimensional Traveler, or is she a co-author of other books? Or
Oh, she's the co-author of this book. She assisted me in the writing of the book itself, and such was Faith's as well. However, it's very interesting because she's currently in law school. She doesn't really want people to know who she is as well, and
Okay.
she goes back and forth. Sometimes she really believes in this thing. Sometimes she says, "You know what? Ever since I became friends with you, I'm starting to realize, all these things. Like I just want my normal life back." It's I used to have that too in the very beginning after the three light beings visited me, whereby I tell myself, I don't know what it is that I'm experiencing at night. It's very scary. I just want my normal life back. But I realized that was a huge mistake for me to say such, because it's very exciting. I know you travel to Kerry very often because I've seen your videos. Maybe you could share something.
Okay, well, this is true. Well, I think everyone does actually, but
Absolutely.
in terms of if you were sharing this kind of information, what year, like how many years ago was it that you started sort of seeing these light beings or having interaction with these other beings?
Ooh, I'm very bad with years, but I think it was when I was. Oh, you mean the last time I interacted
Well,
with
I
them?
mean, you could say 10 years ago, or just generally speaking, how many years ago has it been?
It has been approximately 7 to 8. I
Okay.
suppose.
All right.
That was the last time I saw them. But I encountered many other positive higher beings, and would you care to share with us, Carrie, your experiences with the three light beings? I'm curious myself, very curious.
Oh, well, no, I mean, I have often had light beings visit me at different junctures in my life. And beings that appear in light doesn't mean they're all the same being, so it's sort of, they clothe themselves in a certain vibrational frequency, and that frequency is a certain level of light. And so I've noticed that a lot of people sort of group all light beings together, but they actually aren't, that they're manifesting in various vibrations, and so they're different degrees of light, if you will. I can say that I've been visited for many, many years, probably for the last, since I was in my 20s, which I don't want to say how old I am, but I can say, probably a good 30 years at least, that I was conscious of seeing light beings and having them visit me at different junctures, giving me information and showing me things, and protecting me. I have a very strong affinity to these beings, so I can see that they are also protecting. So have you also experienced that you are getting some protection? Do they come to you at moments when you're unsure of the future, or perhaps there has been something go on in your life where, I don't know, any experiences of that nature?
Yes, absolutely. I feel that we're always interconnected within them. So at times when I experienced the unpleasant, or when I used to experience, the unpleasant, they would always speak to me in the form of sense or intuition within my heart as to what to do in the energetic realms. But you brought up a great point, Carrie, that even in the higher realms itself, there actually exist different dimensions.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So have you ever seen, for example, the ones that people talk about, which is reptilians, greys, praying mantis, these kinds of what people are often talking about? Have you seen these kinds of beings visit you?
Yes, I've seen what people term as the greys, what most individuals term as the greys before, and I'm not sure as to what exactly reptilians are, but I've experienced the hybrids before. What about yourself, Carrie?
Okay, well, I mean, I appreciate your desire to ask me questions, but it's really your interview, so I don't want to take your time to talk about my own experiences and perhaps offline we can talk more, you know, on a conversational level. But I think that people will really want to hear from you. So if you can talk about, you know, maybe some anecdotes that have happened to you along your way, and also because you're specifically talking about multidimensional travel, this is not so usual. A lot of people don't use those terms. I use those terms, but I don't come across that many other people, even when they talk about, you know, traveling through in the ether or whatever. So I'm just curious, when is it that you started to realize that there was many dimensions and that you started to perhaps travel through different ones?
Well, it was actually when I started raising my vibrational frequency to the forms of, you know, maintaining positive thoughts and love and light within my heart. And that's when I started, you know, traveling to a higher realm. And then I thought to myself, you know, wow, so there are actually, you know, more than one universes or more than, you know, this particular dimension itself. And it's just that, you know, my experiences, there were two, I mean, I had too many experiences to even write down or pen down each and every one of them. But I mean, in terms of what you just brought up earlier, the Greys, for example, like when I first experienced it, I hadn't read any of these books. I didn't know who they were. And most of my experiences with the Grey were rather unpleasant in nature, or sometimes I'm able to remember some of them, partial consciousness. So it was only after a while that when I'm in contact with higher beings, when I travel to higher beings, that I actually learned from them that these so-called Greys are actually those beings that are presently residing within the moon itself. And then, interestingly, you know, with that comes the knowledge of that actually some of them are actually existing, you know, here underground as well, in hideouts, and just information that comes along the way.
Okay, so in terms of your travel, did you go to places like, you know, some people would ask you, I'm sure, Area 51 or underground bases here on Earth, at any of those experiences?
Well, underground bases, definitely. I actually, I don't know if that's I don't know if I'm to use underground bases. You be the best judge of it. But I was basically, you know, I basically experienced a lot of, in my chapters of attacks, chapter 7, but it's, please don't let that make you feel like you don't want to travel anymore or anything, that Carrie and I are talking about this, because it was only one, you know, it feels so good to triumph over these obstacles along the way because you're able to travel to a higher place. But anyways, this is actually what people are reporting to me, and what I actually experienced myself first are these beings that are actually working with, should I say, dark individuals here existing within the physical, who are doing, who are attempting to distract the amounts of consciousness within an individual to prevent them to travel multidimensionally. So they're actually doing these operations, and I found that some of these places actually exist in underground shopping malls, places that you wouldn't really expect them to be, and I know for a fact that some people are actually involved in this as well, that are paid a lot of money. Some because this didn't happen in a physical, but I energetically traveled, and I found myself tortured, and I know that it happened previously before in a university actually, who are collaborating with the military and the dark individuals and all those, and they don't know who they're working for, in all honesty.
Okay, and when you say you were tortured, you were tortured in the physical, in this realm, or you were tortured in the etheric, or was this a prior life experience? How would you classify it?
Well, when one raises their vibrational frequency, one raises also their consciousness. Now, there's this division of consciousness when you travel to the energetic realm. The more consciousness that you have, the more consciousness that you're able to transfer from the physical brain itself to the energetics. Mm-hmm. Now, when you have a lot of these consciousness within the energetics. You're able to travel freely whatsoever with no disturbance. But when this division of consciousness itself is distracted, and some of these consciousness are actually still existing within your physical brain, you find yourself within your own physical vulnerability, which is this human physical body, which is easily hurt. So most of these attacks, which actually takes place in, by them sending various wavelengths to individuals' brain to lower their overall energetic frequency, so that they vibrate in a fourth human energetic realm. So when they actually vibrate in this fourth human energetic realm, what actually happens is that they're perpetrated. So the waves, now let's think about it as the waves first. The waves is actually sent in this physical, just like when you and I are talking, or rather, if we're talking in person, it's sent when you're about to fall asleep. Now, what that does is that lowers your overall vibrational frequency, your energetic body. Mm-hmm. And when that lowers your energetic body, you find yourself part of this consciousness, since it is actually some of it are still in the physical brain. When they attack you, you feel pain. Like all these people that are experiencing pain, they feel pain. And all these reports, you can even look it up in Google. They say, yeah, I feel so much pain before I actually woke up. I hear cling, then I felt so much pain within me, and I forced myself to wake up. This is all happening in the physical, when that's actually only partially true. The waves were sent in the physical, but the division of consciousness itself proves the fact that part of your body is part of your consciousness is actually in your energetic body. That's why this is what they're targeting right now. They're targeting your energetic body because that is your true essence. Your true essence is that of a vibration. So the biggest enemy of vibration is the electromagnetic weapons.
Okay.
So this is the most dangerous weapons that have ever actually been created.
Yes. Okay. So would you also, sort of in your travels, did you find yourself recognizing yourself in other lives, in other, sort of existences? Are you aware of yourself in other existences? What some people might call past lives.
Yes, I have had a few experiences actually in my past lives before, where I saw my past lives. But it was only because I was curious. For some reason, I'm never allowed to know about my past life. But then I was actually curious, and I met a higher being, and I said, I really wanted to see a past life of mine. Please show me a past life of mine. And then, even then, the experiences of the past life were seen kind of like a movie, but you're experiencing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and do you want to talk about that particular past life, or is that, would you like to share that?
If that's okay, can I pass?
Because yeah, that's all right. No problem. No problem. We're sort of here to reveal what you want to talk about in terms of your own experience and your book. Now, you say you're working on a second book. So the second book have you planned this out already? Do you know what it's about?
Well, here and there, bits and pieces, but I'm just waiting for the right timing, because everything happens in the right timing, the perfect synchronicity of timing. So it's mostly to do with my basically my understanding of the scientific understanding of what we know, the energetic body itself. And interestingly, my grandfather actually passed away 2 years ago, was it? Or 1 year. Sorry, I'm very bad with timing. And interestingly, during my travels recently, or rather, my travels have brought me to meet various beings, including, I'm still in contact with my grandfather, by the way, and they give me hints on the different part of the brain that I'm to research and what it's related to and everything. They don't give me everything, but they give me hints. And that's the beauty of multidimensional traveling, that you can always keep in contact with those individuals that you love that have passed over.
Okay. Well, very good. Now, in terms of, I don't want to keep you for too long, but we do have an audience, and some of these people may have some questions for you. So I wanted to give them the opportunity to also answer questions, have you answer questions if you're interested.
Sure.
Okay. So we can do that, and then on top of it, and I'm just going to enlarge the type over here so I can see it more easily. It's kind of, it's awkward because I can't get the questions on the same computer as I've got this on. Okay, well, this is not getting any bigger. I don't know why.
Don't worry.
Okay, so hold on one second here, and I'll look at these questions and see. And also, you know, as we go, if there's something that occurs to you that you want to talk about that I haven't thought to ask you, feel free to volunteer anything that comes to mind.
Thank you.
So, okay, someone wants to know what you mean by dimension.
Dimension? Well, think of a rope, right? It has many different strings. Say it's a different color rope, and it's conjoined together into one. And from far away, you see it as simply just being a rope. And when you look closer to it, there are actually many different ropes, like little, strings of them. Now, dimension works in the same way, like that rather than this physicality you could also think of it as a layer of cake, really. From far away, you see it as a cake, and then you look closely, and there are many different layers. Mm-hmm. Now, many of these different layers exist within our universe, and even here on Earth, really. And the ones that we're in right now is the physical, which is one that is solid on the third dimensional realm. Now, when people pass over and they become, what people call as ghosts or earthbounds, they're in a fourth dimensional realm, and some of them are actually in a lower one, and those are dimensions. You could think of it as the differing existences.
Okay, very nice definition and description. Let's see, in terms of, it was just occurred to me, I was wondering if you communicate with animals and plants and so on. Are you able to communicate with, because they are also coming from another vibrational level?
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct, Carrie. Thank you for bringing that up. I was actually telling myself I was going to bring it up, but I completely forgot. But thank you. Yes, especially plants. I am completely against deforestation, because those plants actually are magnets of energies that they release this very, very high vibrational frequencies, positivity that helps humans to actually exist, humans' energetic body to actually vibrate in a higher frequency. Now, and that's why when people are sad or whatsoever, this is the same thing with water. When people are sad whatsoever, they tend to seek plants. Nature. Nature really heals us. Nature really helps us. Why is that? Because nature is actually what plants is. What that I've seen in the energetic is that they're concentrated higher vibrational frequencies, and they're very much interconnected to the higher realms.
Okay. And let's see, I'm seeing, I'm looking at these questions here. What about time? What does time look like to you?
Time, to me, as an individual who, not me, but rather, seeing how time works in different places, I don't think it actually exists. It's just a thing that creates in this physical to imprison the human brain. The human mind, the human potentials, rather. Okay. That's what time is to me. It's just a burden, rather.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. How do you know if you're crossing over into a universe, one inner universe to another, and likewise one dimension to another, or density? How do you know you're moving from one to the other?
Oh, thank you so much, whoever brought up that question, because I actually wanted to highlight that as well. The differences of traveling to a higher realm versus a lower realm is very important, because as you know, that one thing that everybody must know is that your intuition and your senses, the feelings and the senses of a being, is never wrong. So when you're actually traveling to a higher realm or a lower realm, please trust in your senses and feelings and intuition where you're traveling to, because when you're actually feeling heavy and you're feeling negative and you woke up feeling as though your energy is depleted, then undoubtedly you're traveling to the lower realm. Or even when you're actually going to bed in a negative state of mind, you're undoubtedly traveling in a lower realm, because it is impossible for someone who actually vibrates in such a dense vibrational frequency to travel to a higher realm, because such is not permitted. And that is actually what dimension is as well, that it is created so that it enhances the concept of the universal harmony amongst beings.
Okay, well, when you said it's not possible, you are not saying it's not possible for a person to travel from low to high. I'm not sure if you meant that. Did you? What are you saying about that? Because if a person goes to sleep and they're feeling in a low dimension, but they could actually raise their vibration, could they not, during sleep?
Well, that's true, but that's only if the person has that much consciousness to be in their energetic body and they raised it. That's very true.
Okay, so what you're saying is that if they go to sleep in a lower energetic, they'll stay in a rather lower if they're not conscious enough to raise it. Is that correct?
Yes. So I actually really please, like, after reading the book itself, you will see that maintaining a high vibrational frequency, positivity at all times is very, very important, especially before you sleep, because as Freud used to term, it's the unconscious, but now we know that Freud is wrong. Please maintain a very, very high vibrational frequency, especially before sleep. Meditate before sleep. Maintain a positive energy, because that really, you will see the difference in yourself when you wake up in the morning.
Okay. By the way, why don't you show your book for people to see that cover? Because I see that you've got it on hand there, and I think that people would be interested to see the cover there. So obviously this is her book. Khartika, so there's a lot of glare there, but I think I can also perhaps bring it up on the screen at a little bit longer. Let me see if I can actually get the book, because I think that would be great for people to see. And then meanwhile, I will also see if we can, hold on one second here, get this.
Thank you, Carrie.
Sure. Okay, and someone has another question here while I'm scrolling over here to bring her book up from Amazon so that we can get a little bit clearer picture of the book. Someone is asking, why did the beings appear to you, do you think? Do you know why they initially appeared to you? This is what the person is asking.
Well, I suppose it was more of them trying to tell me to wake up and start seeing things in an energetic level and an energetic point of view through an energetic lens, rather than continually living my life in this physical. I guess it was a wake-up call, so to speak.
Okay, so thank you. We've seen your book. I've just also gone to your Amazon page for people, so that will be on the screen. Okay, so you think that there was it was your vibrational frequency that drew them to you? Is that right?
It's an interesting question, because I wasn't, I haven't raised my vibration to as high as they were vibrating in, or they are vibrating in. So I think, in all honesty, at that exact moment, I think they must have needed to lower their vibrational frequency a bit to actually come and, give me a wake-up call.
Okay.
Basically.
All right, fair enough. Let's see. It's another question here is, how exactly do you raise your vibration?
Well, meditation is the obvious one. It's very, very easy. And to constantly use also the power of words to counteract any negative thoughts that comes and evolve itself within your mind. Before it evolves, or before it starts to surround your brain or your mind, start to counterattack it. and remember yourself, that you're here to remember that your very actions and your very words and even the vibrational frequency that you actually vibrate in affect another individual much more than words will. So if you're vibrating in a very high frequency or a very low frequency, you won't realize it, but the people in the room with you will have their poor vibrational frequency kind of like adjusted to yours. If you want to affect someone in a positive way, someone that you love, it's not so much through words. The words do have power, but it's vibrational frequencies have more power. So, for example, that's why I actually stressed earlier that never let the vibrational frequency, the low vibrational frequency of others, affect your own peaceful state of being and your own vibrational frequency. So you have to raise your vibrational frequency by constantly thinking of yourself, in your true essence, that of the energetic, and of course controlling your mind. The mind is one really naughty part of the human physiology, really. Control your mind and maintain the love and light within your heart.
Okay. Just wondering, have you ever been to India? Have you traveled to India, and did you learn any meditational techniques that you'd like to share with people?
I only traveled to India basically only once before, and I didn't learn any meditational technique whatsoever. It was just for trips. Most of my trips are actually just trips itself. So the meditational technique that I actually use on a daily basis is the golden light that I emphasize in the book itself, because it was given to me to be shared as it rightfully belongs to everybody, really. It's just a knowledge that's taken away from us. So it's through the meditation technique of golden light and raising your own vibrational frequency.
Okay, and do you want to describe it in any more detail than that? For the listeners.
Absolutely. So what I find most effective in terms of the golden light is you imagine it coming and entering between your eyes. You imagine this golden light, but you can't just see it as a golden light. You have to imagine it as something that's shimmering, sparkly, glittering, and you have to understand that, I'm just doing this meditation of golden light, and that's all I'm doing because it will raise my vibrational frequency. You have to really feel it and see it as an energetic treatment that will really increase your vibrational frequency. You imagine it going between your eyes and going within your mind. And what I do is that I also imagine it going down to my heart, but so that it doesn't fall into the aspects of gravitational pull, or rather in a human notion that gravity really does exist, which is only pertains to the physical body, not the energetic. I imagine it also completely enveloping me until it's kind of like a wetsuit that I'm wearing, and it's completely covered in gold. The very beginning when they asked me to do this, I didn't, I thought, it was just a golden light, whatever. And, I actually start disciplining myself and doing it very, very often. And I see the change in my own vibrational frequency, and how also, some of my friends who've actually started doing it, they said, "Oh, I don't want to do this. What is this?" And they start doing it, and it really, really helps them. Even sometimes in class when they're like, "Oh, my professor is killing me," he's like giving me a bad grade, and the person is like in a really, really bad vibrational frequency. A friend of mine, she starts imagining this golden light coming to her, and she's like, "Hey, it actually really works," Yeah, well, it's all about the maintenance of it. That's the tricky part. The maintenance of a high vibrational frequency.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's see. Another person is asking, how exactly does an electrical attack feel? Is it like being tasered?
I've never been tasered before, thank goodness. Although once I was using my best friend's Curling Ireland. They're my co-author, actually. They were still plugged in, and I felt myself electricity going through me. That was the only one time. But in terms of how it feels like an electromagnetic force. you feel, actually, you really, really feel the magnetic force and the electric force within you, and you feel paralyzed, like you can't move. You can't even, sometimes you can't even open your eyes. It's very, very hard. You feel very heavy. You feel like you're basically stuck somewhere. And that's basically how it feels. And I hope that whoever asked this, please, like, do not think about how it feels, because I don't want this to happen to anyone.
Okay. Okay, well, let me say that I can feel electromagnetic targeting myself, and I don't know if you have these same sensations, but I can actually feel the air around me change, that there's a different frequency in the the electrical sort of magnetics around the body. And do you feel that as well?
Absolutely. And before it, I feel like really drained, especially between my chests, like this achy sensation, like a tingling, yet achy. It's an unpleasant situation. Like I've learned to recognize it, that whenever this is about to happen, I know it right away, and I completely meditate and raise my vibrational frequency to actually prevent it from happening. Or also, what really helps is going in the water. I meditate in the water, so it really helps a lot.
Okay, and I agree with that. I think also being in the vicinity of plants and water is also going to take and cleanse that energy. So if you do feel something like that, it's great to do that. Another thing that I use, I'm not sure if it would work for everyone, but I use crystals. Crystals do purify energetics, and if you have the right crystal, and it can actually pull in that energy, you can direct it to the crystal, and the crystal will facilitate actually sort of draining that energy and directing it to the crystal instead of to you. And then through the crystal it will cleanse. Have you had that experience at any time?
Well, I always find that the crystal is very, very powerful. They're concentrated higher vibrational frequencies. I find them very helpful, especially, Carrie actually brought up a very good point as well, in that whenever I have these attacks, other than using water, I would also, whichever areas they actually attack me in, because they would actually concentrate at a certain area, I would use the crystal to heal myself as well.
Yes, and I do that same thing. So it seems that we share that. A person wants to know if there's a good book about using the golden light.
How about your own mind and your heart? Because it's actually a knowledge that rightfully belongs to everybody. So it's actually a knowledge that belongs to you that you just haven't discovered yet. Okay. So think of your mind as a book.
Okay. Let's see. Did you ask where these light beings came from? So I maybe they're referring to certain light beings. Have you asked any of the light beings where they came from?
Well, when it was during my first experience, with the light beings, I was only like, possibly my knowledge of spirituality is like a kindergarten. I didn't know anything. So when I asked them, of course, they couldn't say, oh, we come from this dimension, because I wouldn't know. So they just said, we come from a higher dimension. Asking us where we're from is like asking us which tree we are in a forest, basically. So, because in other words, they always resonate with the knowledge that you have. So if you don't have, I was a kindergarten back then, they wouldn't tell me anyways. I wouldn't have gotten it.
Okay. All right. So that I think I managed to grab all the questions that I'm seeing here. Someone else is asking, not sure how one can visualize oneself as an energetic being. Please give an example.
Visualize. How about when it comes to the energetic, it's all about the senses and the feeling. Just like this knowledge itself. It's about okay. If you're someone who has a problem comprehending, or anybody that has a problem with comprehending the energetic realities, how about you take it in a simplest understanding, in that your relationship with another person, how is it that sometimes people that you've never met before, you met for the first time, how is it that sometimes you like them, you feel a certain inclination that you really like this person, or you really don't like that person? It's all about the vibrational frequencies, the energetics. The proof of it are everywhere.
Okay. Lovely. So, and I have to say that I like your answers to the questions very much. Lovely, lovely way of answering. Very unique and very honest. So, would you perhaps talk a little bit about, let's see, your plans for the future, and also if you are, I think many people that are listening are wondering if you're psychic or if you have special telepathic abilities. So those are two questions. So one is about your abilities in terms of being telepathic, if you feel you have enhanced your abilities in this way, and also the future, your plans for the future.
My plans for the future. Although I do know the stepping stones to the future, I prefer not to see the future so much, because I like the universe to give me a surprise, because most people think that the future is very much dependent on them, when in fact the future is very much dependent on the vibrational frequencies of everybody within this world itself. So I like surprises. But I will share with you one of my current aim is that I wish to open a school currently that I'm a friend of mine's are actually basically maintaining. The school itself is that a school for the children with developmental disabilities. I actually really don't like the word disabilities, but with vulnerabilities, please. I have children with developmental vulnerabilities in the Himalayas, where they're majority very open to these things. I wish to assist them in enhancing their energetic abilities, so that one day the world will see how talented these children really are. And in terms of, forgive me, what was the other question, Carrie?
The question was about your own telepathic abilities, if any.
Telepathic abilities. It's mostly if I concentrate hard on the people that my vibrational frequency actually synchronize with. I would be able to detect, like, for example, some of the thoughts patterns. It has to be people that I really am fond about. It can't be somebody that my vibrational frequency doesn't match. So I hope that's what they meant.
Well, yes, I think actually nobody asked. I was just picking that question up from the crowd on a subliminal level. I am wondering whether or not, though, in terms of that, though, can you also pick up when somebody might be a danger to you? Do you have an ability to sense danger?
Yes, I do, but I didn't used to. It's definitely sharpened. I didn't used to, and I learned never to judge a book by its cover. I learned to use my senses and my feelings and my intuition in dictating whether a person is a positive person vibrating in a positive way or a negative person vibrating in a negative way. So I learned along the way, just like how everybody else could, okay. Or is, or whatever it is.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to draw this to a close now, but I want to give you a last chance here to sort of at least this time, and perhaps we can do another interview in the future. I'd love to keep in touch with you.
Thank you, Carrie.
But could you talk about anything that you would sort of parting remarks, anything you would like to say that you perhaps haven't been able to say, or the thoughts that come to mind?
Yes, absolutely. I want people to really realize that this whole power within them is indeed there. It is innately within them. For them to sharpen it, because currently in this current crucial time, we need these positive people, because that's how the energies work. The more positive people are, the more you will. If you want to make a change in the world, it's the right quote to say, please change yourself first, and that please raise your own vibrational frequency first, because you don't realize it. By doing this, you're actually raising the vibrational frequency of the people around you. So please start questioning everything that you read, and start seeking the truth. Start seeing everything in an energetic way, and find the positivity within your mind and the love and light within your heart, because your own abilities are really beyond what have been claim that humans can only do. Work and gain a lot of money, and that's it. Basically.
Okay. Okay, very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Khartika. And
Thanks so much, Carrie, for having me.
it's great. It's great. It's interesting that you brought up the Himalayas because I was getting a lot of that energetic around you. So you must be carrying that with you. I have been to the Himalaya, so a few times actually, and so it's very interesting. I'd like to see what happens along those lines, and I guess we'll be in touch.
Of course, most certainly.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Carrie.
All right. Take care, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye. That you're already using your gifts to help others, and so not only have you had your own experiences, but you're at I think a fairly young age, moving to help others that are even younger, and that's a beautiful thing and nice to hear. What I want to find out is more about your initial encounters, because you say it was uncomfortable, you say they were unpleasant. Can you be more explicit as to why you thought they were unpleasant, and how did things develop from there?
Yes, but Carrie, one thing, it's not my gift. I think it's everybody's gift. Everybody has this gift, this power within them. They just need, it's
Sure.
just like a pencil that needs to be sharpened, so to speak. But in terms of my first experiences was with what I called lower dimensional beings, or you would know them as lower dimensional entities.
Okay.
What is termed or what is known presently by most people as hybrids, the half animal, half human, sort of grotesque looking. I actually have pictures of them. And my first experiences was with them. And I would firstly experience mostly sort of like them verbally saying things to me, such as, when I encountered an energetic, like, you've stolen knowledge. And then afterwards, the second one is like with these dark shadow beings. I know that people have reported about this as well. They normally, when you are sleeping, they normally would lay on your chest. And what they're actually doing is that they're taking the vibrational frequency off you so that they're able to exist in a human fourth dimensional realm. So
Okay.
my experiences were mostly with them first. And it was a strange ride of, experiences, because after that I saw them gradually, or rather I noticed them gradually gaining even more
Release that. In fact, I just managed to get a URL of where to buy it. So that's here at the bottom of the page on the front page of Project Camelot. So for those listening, if you find yourself interested and want to see more, then you can go to the front page and see her her bio and her link there to the book. So she has completed undergraduate degree at the University of California, Los Angeles in 2011. She pursued graduate studies at Columbia University in the city of New York before embarking on her research of the metaphysical dimensions. Ms. Goe has traveled extensively throughout the world and has been successful in capturing other dimensional beings. Does it really say capturing? Capturing other dimensional beings and planes of existence on film. Many prominent esoteric authors and researchers have used her accounts and photos of their own research in the multidimensional realms. So we're going to try to get explanation on some of that. After 5 years of assisting various metaphysical researchers, she finally came public with her own accounts in her groundbreaking article, Adventures in Alternate Realities, which was published in 16 languages and sold over 30 countries by Nexus Magazine, April-May of 2013. Ms. Goe is one of the youngest authors to be featured in Nexus Magazine, and her publication has generated over 200 emails from interested readers, leading her to hold short courses. Following her article, she has also been contacted by documentary filmmakers hoping to use her accounts for future projects. And whoops, Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, and let's see. She has evolved from rigorous.
Rather horrendous, and I was rather scared because I didn't know what was going on. Even sometimes, at times, when my energetic body was detaching from my physical body, I would feel a sensation, kind of like my bed moving, like as though there was an earthquake. And I'd call, my neighbors whatsoever. Did you guys felt an earthquake? There was no earthquake. What are you talking about? Like I was crazy, time and time again. And it seems that it is indeed the whirlwind of truth, just like many people journey at this present time, just like your journey and many people's journey, that we're here for a purpose, that we're here to spread the truth out on the true essence of humanity, or really of this universe itself, which is actually that of the energetic. And now, in terms of, I'd like to highlight this first because for my bio, because this is the most important thing for me in terms of children with developmental disorders, autistic to, children with inattentive ADHD, from the so-called low-functioning ones to high-functioning autism, which I really do not like that terminology at all. So what I'm trying to do is that through various reports from my friends who are doctors, nurses, whatsoever, and to interacting with them, myself, I found out that these children actually have a lot of what I term as energetic abilities, that they're very much more in tune to their energetic body than their physical body itself. That these are remarkable children, and so many of these children are being, conditioned to live their life in these physicalities, human physicalities, being forced to be like everybody else when they in fact have so much to share with us. It's just that they can't have the language comprehension to actually share it with us.
Okay, well, thank you, and that's fascinating.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me here. Like I said, I've always feel a positive vibe coming from Carrie. I've always loved Project Camelot, and I really wanted my first interview to be with Carrie Cassidy here.
Okay, well, that's awesome to hear, and obviously we love hearing that. So, all right, well, I'm here with Khartika Goe, and I don't know how you say the last name. Do you want to say it for me?
Oh, we're just going by Go.
Okay, okay, great. I have a brief bio here for you. So what I'll do is I'll read the bio and then I'll let you augment that with your own words, okay?
Absolutely.
We've got Khartika Goe, and she's the author of an eclectic new book called MULTIDIMENSIONal TRAVELER, Finding Togetherness. And she's just academic background into ardently writing and lecturing on the unknown and the mysteries of the universe. Her current work focuses on assisting children with physical and developmental disorders in the development of their energetic abilities. Okay, last sentence was a mouthful, and anyway, that's a really short bio for Khartika, and we're going to go into some more detail here. Very, very interesting background that she has. I'm very excited to be talking with her this evening. So, Khartika, if you could talk a little bit more about your background, explain some of those sentences that you wrote there, because they're quite a bit esoteric in approach. So
Absolutely.
it would be great to hear what you have to say.
Well, in the very beginning, before I actually got interested into spirituality, so to speak, I was basically just a normal college student with, trying to achieve good grades whatsoever. And everything changed the moment one day, just one night, everything just changed when I went to London and I was visited by three light beings. They were tall light beings, not the short ones we're talking about, tall light beings. And they spoke to me and we interacted. I could only remember some of it, which I actually wrote in the introduction of the book itself. And ever since then, my life has changed completely. It's rather striking, Carrie. I at first it wasn't very pleasant, so as to speak, because I didn't know what was vibrational frequency. So I would be sleeping and I'd be getting out of my physical body, and I'd be interacting with these so-called unpleasant beings, so as to speak. And it was